What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Tuesday, August 5th. We've got a 10-game baseball slate to talk about, as always, on Tuesdays, joined by Steve Boyden. Steve, how you doing on this Tuesday afternoon?
Good. It was a busy weekend. Was out of town, but back last night was good and bad. We had the scratch right at lock. I know you were all over the Soroka fade that worked out. He's hurt. I think that one thing that we do better than anyone else is context stuff like that, right? It's not baked into the player prop. It's more of not even an eye test thing. It's just, these are some concerns that we have. I know you talked about it on the show. I wrote about it in the playbook. So it was good to get that home. It was a good night for me. It was a good night for a lot of people in the chat. Only 10 games. I feel like we've had 12, 13, 14 games on Tuesdays. I kind of like the 8 to 10 game size. We're able to talk a little bit more about each game and not just kind of fly through them.
For sure. Yeah. Soroka thing. I mean, we get plenty of stuff wrong on the show, but like you mentioned, I do think some of the, I don't know, the minutiae, I think might be the word in the projections and the player predictions. It gets lost a little bit. Everyone's got projections now. Everybody's kind of looking at the same numbers. So one way to find an edge is to try to find, some information that maybe other people don't have. Clearly, Field was unconcerned on Mike Soroka. It's actually 2 starts ago before the trade that I was kind of looking at him thinking, there's just no way this guy's healthy when you looked at the declining stuff. And obviously, what do you make it? 1 or 2 innings yesterday. Again, not going to get all that stuff right, but it does aid to, look beyond the projections, the props. Of course, you're not going to get them all right, but when you've got, a lot of players to choose from on a big slate, taking on some risk like that and just getting away from chalk plays. I mean, honestly, even a 100% healthy Mike Soroka, I don't think deserved to be owned. What it ended up being, 35%, something like that?
It was like 43 in the 121, something like that.
Yeah, just an absurd number for not even a skilled pitcher with health concerns. So good to get that one right. We were on, along with a lot of people yesterday, me, JT, and Big T on the just kind of have to play the Blue Jays yesterday, we felt like. And more of the same today, right? I mean, I think they not only are in, like they were yesterday, one of the better spots of any teams all season, but there's not that many great offenses, we don't think, on this slate either. So they do stand out.
Might be a better spot today than yesterday, honestly. We'll get to it, but
Yeah, I think so too. And we do actually have some I think, information on the Rockies pitching staff. We'll get to it that maybe other people potentially missing. Of course, we'll get to the bottom of Coors Field and the other 10 games as we talk about this slate. It's a fun one, as it always is on Tuesday when we got a number of games to choose from. And we'll get right down to it. We'll also run a little contest for the show, Steve. We'll make it maybe a Tuesday tradition. We'll give away – what we're going to do is give away a ticket to a member of YouTube chat. You don't need to be an RPS member. Of course, RPS members can win too. But what we're going to do is run a little private three-man contest between me, you, and then whoever we choose from the chat. If they beat both of us, we'll give away a flagship ticket for tomorrow, to get in. We'll do this every Tuesday. Just a little bonus for the people that have been supporting the show all year long. We appreciate you guys, and just a little way to get back. Nothing huge, but a flagship ticket can be fun. Get a shot at the big prize. And I will say, if you're playing thousands of dollars per night, maybe sit this contest out. We're trying to give away a ticket to maybe some people who couldn't get in, play that contest normally. So we'll do that later on once we get some more people in the show. For now, though, let's jump into the first game of the night. We do start off in Fenway Park. Red Sox with a big night last night. 5 first-inning runs. You mentioned, Steve, the Roman Anthony scratch, which did happen after lock. Yes, it was a post-lock scratch. I think it had to be
about 10 seconds after that game locked. Got the alert.
I was watching the game, and I think if you were watching the warm-ups, I think you might have caught it, because I think he came. They pulled him off the field maybe 10 minutes before, but wasn't officially scratched until after the game starts. So I didn't have Roman Anthony myself, but bummer for people that did, especially given the easy swap from Anthony to either Durant
Anyone else in Ref Snyder.
Yeah, any of it would have worked out, but is what it is. We're on to the next one. We're on to tonight's game. Garrett Crochet back on the mound for the Red Sox. They gave him some extra rest last week. He actually didn't make a start at all last week. I don't think they're really concerned with him, but I actually think probably a benefit for Crochet with the extra rest. He's been the best or among the best strikeout artists in all of baseball the last couple years. Almost always goes deep into games, and I would expect that here, certainly from Crochet. Do think he is, for me, the top option if we're taking price out of consideration, but there are good options, I think, up top along with Crochet. I do like him. His price is a little restrictive if you agree with me that Blue Jays are kind of a must, but nevertheless, Crochet, if you can fit him in, I think a really good way to go. And then on the other side, Royals will go with kind of non-prospect Ryan Bergert, who his results have been okay so far at the big league level, but we both expect regression coming for him, possibly as soon as tonight against really a hot-hitting Red Sox team that's won a lot of games recently, seems to be clicking on all cylinders. And I mean, this Royals team, Steve, they were starting Rich Hill for a couple of games. That's how desperate they are at the back end of the rotation with some of the injuries they've had. That's why Berger's getting the ball here, right? It's not out of merit. It's out of necessity. These are pitchers both of us like to target against. So the Red Sox, pretty high up on my list. I think they are for you as well. So yeah, all Red Sox here for me. Go ahead, Steve, on Royals and Red Sox.
Yeah, on the Red Sox here, I was on them last night. The scratch was frustrating, but it's fine. I think it's a potentially even better spot tonight, but we'll start with Crochet. Yeah, at 11K, he's fully deserved that tag. SP1 on the slate, 7+ strikeouts in 10 of his last 11 starts. I think if there's one guy to put up a 35+ here, it's him. The Royals are a bit less strikeout prone, or more strikeout prone in the split against lefties. Not the highest strikeout matchup, but Crochet I think can kind of get through any team. It's more on him than the team that he's facing. You mentioned the extra rest. I think the fact that they're skipping him is kind of their plan. Like, I think they want him to continue to go deep into games. I think that's what he wants to do. He's come out and said that, he's a horse. He is a horse. I think that the way that they're managing him, DC, is not going to be within games, but the extra break between games. So I don't have any concerns about his duration upside here. The props agree. The props are great. Best xFIP on the slate in July, 2.4. If you can afford him, I think he's pretty clearly the highest upside player on the slate. On a slate that's pretty deep at pitching. When we were on last Tuesday, we were looking for anyone to play, and I think there's 4 or 5 options up top that are really, really good options tonight. So I'm in on Crochet if you can fit him. I was playing around with some Toronto 5-mans, trying to find some mini stacks that do fit him, and it is doable. So I think that Crochet with Toronto is doable on the slate. And then, you mentioned Bergert, acquired by the Royals. They didn't pick up impact pitching. They picked up guys to eat innings. We saw last night with Bailey Falter, they're not grabbing him because, they think that he's going to be some sort of stud. Kind of the same thing with Bergert here. He's got some big-time red flags in his underlying metrics, DC. In July, he had a 23% ground ball rate with a 15.8% walk rate. That combination in this park, I know we were talking earlier, it would be nice if the wind was blowing out, but I think it's still a really good spot regardless for Boston. It's just a dangerous combination, an extreme fly ball guy with the highest walk rate over the last month on the entire slate. It's just they're just clear paths to the Red Sox just bombing him here. So they've been crushing right-handed pitching as expected with the way that this lineup kind of balances out. 4th in weighted runs created plus, 3rd in ISO, last 30. The Royals bullpen behind him was terrible in July. 6th worst estimators in baseball during that time period. So it's all systems go for Boston here. The question is, you're playing them over the Blue Jays. So I like them. I'll have them in 20. When I pulled up the Sabre ownerships Boston, a lot of the Boston bats are right up there or higher than some of the Toronto bats. So I'm not sure if that'll come to fruition. They are cheaper than Toronto. But if they're like the same ownership on Toronto, I want to be over on Toronto and under on Boston despite the good spot. So kind of I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go yet, but it is a great spot overall against a guy who I think is going to get blasted with those metrics.
Yeah, his profile, like you mentioned, is prone to blowups, right? He's walking way too many dudes, plus the fly balls.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned this with kind of rookie pitchers too. It's just a tough spot, man. Going into Fenway, you're not really a big league caliber starter, a hot team. It's going to be, they've got like sellout crowds every night there. You start walking dudes, and it just can get out of hand in a hurry for these types of pitchers. So I do think the Red Sox, one of the few teams that could realistically match, probably not the 15-run output or whatever the Blue Jays ended up with last night, but the Red Sox could easily put up 10 runs here and get there. They're not that expensive either. I mean, the most expensive bat in the lineup is Bregman at 4,800. So you can't afford these guys. Do you have any specific Red Sox that you really want to get in there? To me, the top four: Duran, Bregman, Abreu, Story. And then I think beyond that, your fifth, you could kind of vary wherever you wanted to go. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, same. I like getting the catcher out of the way here with Narvaez. He's been good enough, pretty cheap as well. So yeah, it's the top four. And then depending on how much you need to save, you've got Yoshida hitting fifth. He's super cheap, hasn't done much yet, but hitting fifth in this spot at 2,800 is pretty premier price. So This is why these guys are going to get owned, because they're cheap and the pitching up top is good.
Yeah, I think most people are going to spend up for one 9K plus pitcher today, and then Darvish is ridiculously cheap. I think that's going to be a popular combination. But yeah, people want to fit in, a decent offense with stud pitching. The Red Sox certainly a good way to do it. They look good, but like you mentioned, in my opinion, they should not have the same ownership as the Blue Jays. So if choosing between the two, I would go with Toronto there.
Also, real quick, I think I found our winner for the we got a guy who shot a 77, birthday's tomorrow, Chunk the Deuce. How are we going to do this, DC, with the
Chunk the Deuce? If you want the ticket, it's yours. I was going to pick him too. Birthday coming up, golfer, fits right in. So what I think we'll do is we'll create the 3-man on DraftKings. Chunk the Deuce, reply in chat if you want the ticket. If so, we'll send you got to DM one of us, probably on Twitter. I don't think you're a member. Good. Perfect. Just DM one of us on Twitter at Steve Boynton VT. I'm at Draft Cheat, and we'll get you in that 3-man. If you win, we'll get you a flagship ticket for tomorrow. So a fun way to kick off this show, and little Ticket Tuesday action. So that should be fun. Let's move to the next game on the slate. We've got the Guardians and the Mets in Citi Field. Good hitting weather here, but at least according to our friends at Ballpark Pellet, doesn't really seem to matter in Citi Field. They've got this stadium, as they always do, rated as one of the hardest spots for hitters on the day. Guardians going with Logan Allen, a lefty, kind of a traditional lefty, where he's got the clear weakness in my eyes against right-handed power in particular. Pete Alonso stands out, I think, as a strong play here. Clay Holmes going for the Mets, not a pitcher I play often, but certainly not a ton of interest in the Guardians here either. Probably just avoiding both sides of that matchup. Not going to have a ton of this game in general outside of maybe some Alonso one-offs. I think Vientos looks okay. What do you see here, Steve, between the Guardians and the Mets?
Yeah, Holmes just hasn't had any strikeout upside lately. I think they're going to start to pull the reins on him a bit and start to limit his innings. They've got some guys coming back soon. He has not really pitched this many innings in his career. They're kind of looking towards September and October. So I'm not going to use Holmes probably for the rest of the season. I just don't think that they're going to let him go deep enough. Not using Allen here too. I think you could use some Mets bats. I just don't like this park. Allen's the guy that we've been targeting. I think the Mets bats are the best plays in this game. The issue is the price tags, right? I think you guys talked about it yesterday. Lindor 5.5, Soto 5.9, Alonso 5.3. Just kind of tough to get to them. So I think the Mets are at least interesting here because Allen is a fly ball guy who's got some pretty poor metrics, but not a ton of interest in this game. I'm kind of with you. I'm not playing the Guardians bats against him because the Mets bullpen is good and it's like other spots. It's just tough, right? Because if you play a 5-man here, you're betting that they're going to outscore Toronto, and Cleveland just isn't on that short list of teams that I think can do that.
Yeah, I don't think Cleveland's putting up 10-plus runs tonight. No. Stranger things have happened, but I'm with you there. I think you're stretching a little too thin to go with the Guardian stack here. Like I said, I do like Alonso, Vientos, some of this right-handed power, but overall, not a game that you really need to get to. Outside of one-offs, home run hunting, I think, against Allen makes some sense, but overall, not the most intriguing game of the night. Let's go to Atlanta next for the Braves and the Brewers. Brewers let me down a little bit last night. Another decent spot for them against Joey Wentz, who's been, I guess, okay, but I still think is a decent target. Brewers, they're down my list a little bit, but I do think there are decent plays at least tonight. And then Freddie Peralta going against the Braves. We know this Braves offense been disappointing, frankly, most of the year. Peralta, of course, has been good. I don't have him as high as some of the others in the 10K range, but I do think for people playing multiple lineups, he should certainly be in the pool at 10K even on DraftKings. What do you see here, Steve, between the Brewers and the Braves?
Yeah, Peralta, a guy that I'm usually under on because he's usually over-owned. I think he's going to be under-owned here. The Braves, like you said, the lineup's a bit depleted with them losing Acuna and now Riley. Pretty strikeout-prone lineup, 5th highest strikeout rate over the last month against righties. Bottom 8 in both weighted runs created plus and ISO since Acuna went down. I mean, that kind of lines up, especially if you're watching this team since he has gone down. I think Peralta is a really interesting tournament play here, DC. It's kind of he's kind of stuck between the Crochet Wu tier, and then we'll talk about Imanaga later. I think we do need to double check the weather before we sign off. I think it's going to be all right, but Atlanta in the summer, always have to double check that. It was fine last night. I do like Peralta here. I'll be above the field on him. I think, we'll talk about the rest of this range of pitcher, but some really good tournament plays, I think, today. And Peralta, maybe the top of that list for me. He's been so consistent the entire season outside of that last start against the Cubs, which, can't really fault him for that. And then I wrote up the Brewers in the playbook. Not as good of a spot as last night, but look at the price tags on this lineup, DC. You got Yelich and Contreras right around 4K, and the rest of the lineup is free. So I think if you're double spending, if you're playing a Crochet Wu lineup, I think you can play a Brewers 5-man with the double spend pitcher. I think that's going to be unique on the slate. Maybe play 3 Jays with the 5 Brewers, something like that. Still get a taste of Coors Field. But at these price tags, like we just got the lineup. We got Durbin leading off at 3,300. Vaughn, who's been awesome, faces a lefty, cleaning up at 3,200. Collins has been really, really good, especially of late, hitting 5th for 3,200. I just really like the price tags and the spot here for a Brewers team that's just been absolutely smashing left-handed pitching. Our hand in his chart on the site shows him with the number 1 weighted runs created plus in baseball over both the last 30 days and last 14 days in the split. So I think a lot of people got burned by the Brewers last night. Can't be afraid to go back. I think the Brewers, especially the way that they're playing ball right now, DC, are one of the teams that have the potential to at least match or come close to Toronto. And at these price tags, if you're able to double spend, I really like that here.
Yeah, it didn't work out last night. I mentioned the stolen base upside that these guys bring to the table. It's true again tonight. I think they've got kind of hidden upside, and usually stolen bases kind of come in bunches, right? So it kind of goes along with the full stack too, which the Brewers are one of those teams that I think are much better played as a full stack than they are as one-offs. Won't be the greatest home run park tonight, but absolutely this team could go off. They're cheap. And, double spending at starting pitcher tonight, I don't think that many people are even going to do it because people are going to try to fit in the Blue Jays, obviously. And we do have, multiple pitchers on this slate who could put up 30+ fantasy points. So, I think.
Yeah, I was playing around earlier. You can play 5 Brewers with a 3-man Jays with a double stud lineup. I think that's super interesting on this slate.
100%. Any Braves bats for you? I think they're a full fade for me.
I do not have any Braves bats. I'm going to be higher than the field on Peralta here.
Yeah, makes sense to me, like Peralta as well. The weather, it looks really similar to me as yesterday, which proved not to be an issue. Kind of light rain in the area. Again, a couple hours before lock here, but I think this game will be fine. And potentially, it could be a game that starts in delay but has no rain after it, looking at the radar. So potentially you could get Peralta in an even lower owned spot with people concerned with the weather. If you feel fine about it, maybe additional ownership discount on Peralta. I will say, if it does look risky, it wouldn't be a slate for me to risk it with Peralta with some of the better options. So hard to answer those questions right now. We'll be in Discord, obviously, with final calls on the weather in Atlanta. I will say, I think in all likelihood, this game will be totally fine for pitching and bats if you are looking at either of those directions on the slate. We go to Wrigley Field next. Wind blowing in tonight, so won't play as hitter-friendly as it could. We've got Shota Imanaga going for the Cubs. You definitely want him in these games where the wind's blowing in. He's a fly ball pitcher, prone to home runs. Should be pretty safe from that, I think, tonight against this Reds lineup and in this park. But yeah, Imanaga, seeing some love for him in the chat. He makes some sense to me. I do have him below some of the other top arms, but you do get a discount at 8,900, and every dollar is helpful on this slate and trying to get in some of these big bats. So Imanaga, I don't think I'm going to end up with him, but he does make, I think, some pretty good sense on this slate. Reds will go with Zach Littell, traded over from the Rays at the trade deadline. Pretty solid arm, but also I think one with limited upside, not on my list against this Cubs team. Cubs lineup, I mean, we know what this team can do, but for me at least, it's a contrarian play, right? That's the only real justification to getting to the Cubs. It's a very powerful offense in a decent matchup. But yeah, I mean, you're really paying for these guys. Kind of hard to justify it in my eyes. Steve, what do you see between the Reds and the Cubs here?
Actually, going to this one tonight, it's a girlfriend's birthday, taking her to the game. I was hoping for some winds blowing out for a nice game against the Reds here, but winds are blowing in. Agree on Imanaga. I think these are the exact games that you want them in. Like you said, you get a meaningful discount on the Crochet, Wu, Peralta, Eovaldi tier. I just double checked the wins as you were talking with our friends at Wrigley Winds, one of the best apps. It's so cool. You can kind of click on the field where the ball is hit, and it'll show you where the ball will go with the wind, which is actually pretty cool to do. Anyways, so it's currently blowing in around 10 miles an hour, gusts to 15. So that is pretty significant here. The total's going down in this game. It's going to be chillier tonight up on the north side. Below 9K in conditions like this are the exact times that I want to be over on Imanaga. He has not shown the massive strikeout upside they did the last season, but I think some of that will bump up. And this is a really good spot for him. Reds outside of Great American. They've been terrible against left-handed pitching of late. 26th weighted runs created plus, 27th in ISO over last month. I just kind of see like a clean 6 to 7 inning, 20 to 25 point DK spot here for Shota. I'm going to try to get up to a Crochet, but I mean, he's a full $2,000 less. I think that's a upgrade from, if you're playing the Jays, it's an upgrade from Loperfido to Barger, or, from Ty France to Vlad. So, those are the kind of decisions that we'll have to make tonight. I do like him a lot. I'm not playing any Reds bats, and the only Cubs bats I'll play are like my token going to the game, got to play a Cubs 5-man just in case type of thing. But at these price tags, like you said, you're kind of paying for the premier win spot. at these Cubs price tags, and that's just not what we have tonight.
Your man Ty France is going to be hurt that you're talking about upgrading his position. I didn't know you could get an upgrade from Mr. France.
For a full $2,000 more, you can get a couple ground balls to short with Vlad Guerrero.
there you go. Yeah, Imanaga growing on me a little bit. I think I'm going to use him. If you've got maybe you have the 5 Blue Jays and the 3-man you like, or 3 one-offs that you feel strong about, and you just need the savings from the 10K range to get down, and Imanaga fits, I have no problem with him in those scenarios. Not the first guy in my lineup, but no problem using him on lineups where he just kind of fits, and sometimes you get builds like that. So with you on Imanaga, I think he's a pretty solid option. I do think his upside is a little bit less than most of the 10K guys, but I do think he's a pretty solid way to go nevertheless. So that's Chicago and Cincinnati. Let's get to the Yankees and the Rangers. We got Nathan Eovaldi, Will Warren here. Warren, a guy, I think we both used him quite a bit early. Seems like he's running out of steam a little bit. And one of the things I noticed researching this game, I mean, it's been true for Warren, but his splits against lefties are pretty pronounced and seem to be getting more severe as the season goes on. It makes sense when you watch him pitch. He's fastball, breaking ball, right? But if those lefties can lay off that low and end breaking ball, get some pretty hittable fastballs. So I think Corey Seager, one of the better one-offs on this slate. I like Josh Smith, that 1-2 combo at the top of the Rangers lineup quite a bit. I think you'll get those guys lower owned. And even Jack Peterson down there in the 5-hole. I believe he had a home run yesterday, 2,300 for him on DK. And Yankees pretty righty heavy out of the pen too. They used their 4 best relievers yesterday. I think kind of a sneaky good spot for these Rangers lefties. And then Eovaldi against the Yankees is interesting. Yankees do get Aaron Judge back, missed the last 10 days on the IL. Looks like he'll be fine, I think, going forward. Going to DH for a while. I think he's having trouble throwing, but obviously his bat in there makes Eovaldi, less of a good play. But, man, Eovaldi has been really, really good this season. I think we'll get a little bit of an ownership discount on him. And even with the power here, there's a lot of strikeouts in this Yankees lineup. Judge could potentially be a little bit rusty. I kind of like Eovaldi at 9,700. Interested where you ended up with him compared to Peralta, Imanaga, Crochet, those guys, and obviously your rest of the thoughts on this game, Steve.
Yeah, I'm with you on these Texas lefties. Warren just has not been able to get lefties out, and I know you mentioned it earlier in the day, especially on the road outside of Yankee Stadium. He has just gotten blasted by lefties. I do like that 2 or 3 man, like you said, 1, 2, 5, or just 1, 2 Smith and Seager. Peterson had the pinch hit home run last night after I'm not sure if you saw the Yankees broadcast was calling him fat, and then he just crushed the home run. They're like, yeah, his build has changed significantly since the Braves days. I was like, yeah, same for all of us.
I mean, he is pretty fat to be fair.
He is. It was just funny because it was like the next pitch, he just crushes one to right field to tie the game.
Yeah,
and Bird gives it up in the 10th. They've already sent Jake Bird down. The Yankees at the deadline acquired players from the Rockies and the Pirates, and it's not really going the way that they thought. That's too bad. So, yeah, I do like the Texas lefties here, and I do like Eovaldi. He just always seems to go under the radar, the duration. That's what I love about the studs that we have today, DC, is all 5 of the guys that I have in the pool. If things are going well, we're getting 6, 7, 8 innings out of these guys. Eovaldi's on that list, a true horse. If it weren't for his month-long IL stint, he would be right there with Skubal for AL Cy Young Award.
He's got a 1.49 ERA, Eovaldi. I mean,
0.59 ERA and 5 starts in July. He doesn't have the big-time strikeout upside that Crochet does, but he's also 1,000 less. He's at home here. I'm going to try to be over on all of these guys, really. Eovaldi's on that list. If the weather doesn't look as good in Atlanta, I'll move some even more Peralta to Eovaldi. So I'm on Eovaldi here. Sabre's showing about 20%. I like to be over on that. And then, I'm going to play a bunch of these Josh Smith, Corey Seager, Jock Peterson 1, 2, and 3 man tonight.
Yeah, we're on the same page with Yankees and Rangers, and I don't know, just feeling like Eovaldi's got a good game in him tonight. Also, not a guy that has significant splits, so all the lefties in the Yankees lineup, not too big of a concern for a pitcher like Eovaldi, who gets lefties out just fine. So glad to see you are on him as well. Does bring us to the second half of this slate. And of course, it brings us to Coors Field for the Blue Jays and the Rockies. Essentially close enough to the same weather as yesterday. Maybe not as strong as winds blowing out to center field, but nevertheless, Blue Jays. We talked about it yesterday. Just the matchup for these guys. One way you can survive in Coors Field is if you can get strikeouts, right? And kind of mitigate the effects of the thin air and the park. It doesn't really come into play until you make contact, but the Blue Jays are like the lowest strikeout rate team in all baseball, or right up there with any of them. And
you saw it last night, just making contact, bloops into the outfield, especially in that park.
Yes,
making contact is so big because the outfield is so large.
Yeah, they're just going to make a bunch of solid contact, and just hard for this Rocky staff to get through 9 innings. They're starting with Anthony Molina, who's got a K prop of a grand total of 2.5. We'll see where they go after him. And then, we kind of teased information on the Rockies here. Looks to us, unless the Rockies make a move prior to game, which we're, coming up 3 hours now before lock, we think they're going to be without a single left-handed reliever out of the bullpen. No lineup for the Blue Jays yet, I believe, but they've got some significant pinch hit risks in their lineup. Nathan Lukes, Loperfido, maybe Varsho, that I think should be essentially safe for this entire game. And that's, going back to the Soroka thing, that's information that people will miss, that these otherwise pinch hit risks probably are going to be safe in this one to tee off for all 9 innings. So I think it's a good slate to maybe go for the lesser, slightly cheaper bats in the Blue Jays lineup, assuming they're all in there, which I think they will be. So I'm in on, I wouldn't call these guys scrubs, but obviously not the big names of Vlad, Bo Bichette, Addison Barger. Could be a good slate to get a little bit different, a little bit cheaper on your Blue Jays stack, Steve. And then Barrios on the other side. It happened again last night. I cored Eric Lauer, who came in, I think, around 10% owned. Thought that was too low against this Rockies team. And especially, given the struggles of Sears and some of the other starters, Lauer proved to be one of the best plays on the entire slate at 6,300. I don't love Barrios as a pitcher, but I do think he has some of the most strikeout upside in this matchup that he's had all season. Coors Field be damned. So Barrios at 7K, he's on the list for me. What do you see here between the Blue Jays and the Rockies?
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of the thoughts that I had. The lefties here, we think are going to be protected. They used 3 guys for 30-plus pitches yesterday, including both of their lefties, like you said. It's about as tough as a spot as it gets for a pitching staff, right? You just get absolutely pounded all weekend. Your starter doesn't make it out of the 3rd inning last night. And the Jays are just the perfect team for Coors. It's a great team to stack because they don't have a ton of power. So it's going to be a lot of what you saw last night, just extended rallies. I'm with you on the lefties here. Barger and Varsho are my 2 favorite plays in the whole game. I think it's going to take a crazy lucky BABIP game for them to not crush here. Behind this guy that they're calling up, who, by the way, in 15 starts at AAA this year has a 6.52 ERA, the worst bullpen in baseball behind him over the last month. It's just kind of how you play them. I mentioned a couple ways earlier with the Brewers. I like your call with the lefties and maybe going cheaper. That also kind of jives with this slate too, right? Where we have so much good pitching up top. So it's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to be on both sides of the Barrios thing, which is kind of how I always play him, right? He's a volatile arm. I think he could rack up the strikeouts here. but he's also given up a lot of power right now. And I think that the Rockies bats, including, just like a full Coors jam here, is in play. Worst xFIP on the entire slate in July for Berrios. Strikeout rate is down this year. It doesn't feel great clicking the pace eaters, but I'm going to have some here. It's just on a slate where there aren't that many good offensive spots, I've got to have some bats in the 95-degree day at Coors on both sides here.
Yeah, Mickey Moniak stands out to me. I think the lone lefty in the entire lineup for the Rockies. He's been pretty hot, has performed well at Coors. Berrios, historically at least, has been quite a bit worse against lefties than righties. Not quite sure this year, but yeah, he makes sense. And yeah, still Coors Field. I had some Rocky stacks against Lauer yesterday, but played a lot of Lauer. Probably a similar approach with Berrios. We'll mix him in. We'll also have likely at least one full-on Rocky stack in case things move south for Berrios, which they usually could. I mean, he just has.
I like the 2 through 6 here. Tovar, Goodman, Jordan Beck has been really, really good, especially at home.
Yep.
Moniak, like you said, and then our guy Warming, Bernabel, who is just a big bastard out there hitting for pop. So he's still under 4K at Coors, which with the start that he's on, I'm surprised that he is not priced up higher.
Yeah, 100% with you on Coors Field. 4 more games to talk about. Really good time to sign up for Run Pure Sports for people that have not. Football season less than a month away now officially. Month and 1 day short of that before football gets started. And yeah, we'll be dropping. I don't know if they drop today. I know today or tomorrow or sometime very soon. Football packages drop for Run Pure Sports. And I believe you can still use promo code JBC100K win for a discount on those. So check that out. Check Run Pure Sports. And it's going to be an awesome football season. Of course, the rest of baseball as well. We'll be plugging along all season long. But football right around the corner. Use that promo code if you want to join us over at RPS. Let's get to the West Coast Angel Stadium for the Angels and the Rays. 2 pretty solid right-handed pitchers going here. Ryan Pepio for the Rays. He's been pretty good strikeout artist. Gets to pitch away from Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, which is a plus. And a high strikeout matchup against this Angels team. So Pepio, I think, is at least interesting at 8,500. And Soriano, I don't think, is a terrible play either at 7,600. He's been a tough one to figure out, but at least in relation to his price, has more big games than you'll see from most pitchers in that mid 7K range. So kind of a hit or miss spot for Soriano, obviously a powerful Rays lineup, but also one with enough strikeouts to make Soriano, I think, a viable mid-range play, probably pretty low owned here. What do you see, Steve, between Rays and Angels?
Yes, Soriano's been good to us. I feel like you and I play him more than most, especially in decent matchups. I think he's got a good one here. Talked about it yesterday. I know you brought it up. I tried to fire in the chat. The Rays have just been really, really bad over the last month, especially outside of Steinbrenner. Dead last in ISO against right-handed pitching. Kikuchi got the job done for us last night. I'm going right back to Soriano. He was great in July, 2.75 ERA, backed up with the 3.5 xFIP with a 70% ground ball rate on the month. So when he gets in trouble, which he does at times because he can get wild, it is nice to have a huge ground ball rate to get you out of jam. So I think the matchup is better than what people will think on the surface. The Rays are, of course, down Aranda, and I believe they might be down Chandler Simpson as well. So, we've got guys like Hunter Fiducia in the projected lineup here. I'm going to play some Soriano. He's not my favorite arm on the slate or anything, but I'm going to keep him in the pool. And then Pepio, kind of like throwing my hands up at what to do with this guy, right? Like every time it seems like he's in a good spot. He can't find the zone. He has been pretty reverse splits, I believe, DC, which is not great against this Angels lineup that's got 7 right-handed hitters at least, I think. So I don't love Pepio here. I get the play with the strikeout upside. So I'm going to be off of him here. I do like Soriano. And then I guess you could play some Angels bats against Pepio. Like when it goes bad, we've seen it. He just completely loses the zone, blows up, gives up a 3-run bomb, and is out of there. So I kind of prefer the Angels side here, and I kind of like the Angels money line in this game as well.
Yeah, I think Soriano. Yeah, he makes. I mean, especially when you consider the Rays. You're mostly worried about the power, but Soriano doesn't really give up power, high ground balls. He's, especially given the state of their bullpen, like he's a pitcher that they let go as long as he's effective. So you could see 6 or 7 innings from Soriano here. I think he makes a lot of sense in that mid 7K range. What do we see in ownership? Around 15 to 20%. I think that's fine for Soriano. He's another one where if you got the, a stack that you like or a lineup that you like and Soriano fits, no problem at all going to him at 7,600. No Blue Jays lineup yet. We were just kind of speculating on what it'll look like, which I feel pretty confident they're going to have the guys, those lefties that we like in there. Wouldn't make a lot of sense to leave them out. You never know, of course, but I do think those guys, those lefties bats that we liked, will be in there for the Blue Jays. So yeah, that's Tampa Bay and the Angels. Yeah, Soriano sounds like he's on the short list for both of us. Let's go to Arizona next for the depleted Diamondbacks lineup. Didn't look depleted yesterday. Kind of put a hurting on chalk play. JP Sears, I was on him. Sounds like you were on him. A lot of people were on him yesterday. Frankly, I'd probably do it again next time he pitches in the exact same spot. Just didn't work out yesterday. But might work out for you, Darvish, who does come in at essentially the same price, 6,100 for Darvish. Sears was 6K yesterday. Darvish coming off really his only good start of the season. He's pitched 5 times now. All of them were very mediocre at best until last start when he made it 7 shutout innings against the Mets, 7 strikeouts, no walks, 76 pitches in that one. So duration is kind of a concern for Darvish, but he made it 7 innings. So, they might have extended him. His other outings weren't good. I do think he could give us 90-plus pitches here in the right scenario. And I do think he's kind of clearly the best point per dollar option, I think, at 6,100. He would be my favorite to win that prize over any other single pitcher at the end of the slate. Point per dollar, not raw points, obviously. So, yeah, you got to like Darvish here, 6,100. Ryan Nelson, 7,700 for the D-backs. No interest there. Probably not going to many D-backs bats or Padres bats either, though. My one concern with Darvish, other than the ownership himself, Steve, is that I think a lot of people are going to play a 5-man Blue Jays with Darvish, right? You talk about individual ownerships, which matter a ton, but combination ownerships also matter. And this will be, I think, one of the highest owned combinations that we've seen all year long of any starting pitcher with any individual stack, Darvish plus the Blue Jays. That said, I'm still going to have that combination myself. We'll probably try to get a little bit different on my other 4 spots, SP, the other starting pitcher and then the other 3 hitters. I assume you're in on Darvish here. Talk to us about Padres and D-backs.
Yeah, didn't work last night with Sears. Just didn't have it. Was leaving everything up in the zone. It's going to hurt against any major league lineup. But I'm going to continue playing pitchers against this current version of the Diamondbacks order, which the 5 through 9 is arguably the worst in baseball now. Locklear, McCarthy, Blaze Alexander, Alec Thomas, Jose Herrera. It's a 6K pitcher against a bad lineup. On a slate where we want bats. I think he's a great play. I am surprised that he's not projecting to be higher owned. I think he will come in higher owned.
Sabres got him at 18%. No chance is he that low. I'll just say that right off.
I'm going to have more than 18% you, Darvish. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think he's a great play here. I have the same concerns that you do with the duration, but I think, we get 5, maybe 6 innings here. This is a veteran pitcher going up against a bunch of young green hitters, a guy who throws 7 or 8 different types of pitches to DC. So I think this is he isn't a guy that just needs one pitch to be on. This is also a guy who was at least decent last year. He was around 8K pretty much all of last season. So he's coming off a start where he may have found something. The price tag is just too good for me to pass up here. I'm in on Darvish here, and then Ryan Nelson. I'm not going to get to him here in this tough matchup, but man, he has been good for like 2 straight months. If you're a box score watcher, I think we had someone in the chat. Yeah, Joe. I'm going to pull Big T and say 1% Nelson for those box scores. Yeah. It's just going to be tough to play pitchers against this version of the Padres lineup with the acquisitions they have. They now go 7 or 8 deep now that they have O'Hearn and Laureano. It's just not a team that I'm going to be playing a lot of pitchers against.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, Nelson, I've been on him some, but I don't think today is the day for Ryan Nelson. And we did get the Blue Jays lineup. Nathan Lukes, Bichette, Guerrero, Barger, Kirk, Varsho, Clement, Loper, Fido, and your man Ty France bringing up the rear. Last but not least, Ty France.
Loper Fido has been really, really good lately. I kind of like that he's lower in the lineup here at DC. Maybe get some more people off of him. He's been smashing. Yeah,
love it. So the 4 lefties, Lukes, Barger, Varsho, Loper, Fido that we were talking about, all in there as expected, but certainly going to be high up there on my personal rankings tonight. Let's go to Seattle for the Mariners and the red-hot Chicago White Sox. They've got Brian Wu going for the facing this White Sox lineup. Wu has been shaky a little bit results-wise recently. Digging into his metrics, I didn't really see anything concerning with Brian Wu. I expect him to be back to his normal self, frankly, tonight. But if not tonight, sooner rather than later. He's at home here, which we love for Mariners pitchers. And, the White Sox have been swinging better bats recently, but still looking at this lineup, I'm not overly concerned here for Mr. Wu. I do think he is – I think you could make a good argument for Wu being the safest pitcher on the board in this park against this lineup. He's not the highest strikeout guy in the world for his price, but obviously could get them here against the White Sox, and I think he's a really good bet to go 6+ innings as well. So I like Brian Wu here. It sounds like you're similar to me, Steven. I kind of think the top end of pitching is pretty flat where you can spread it around a little bit among these guys. Wu certainly right there with the rest of them. I think a really strong play. And I don't hate even Davis Martin on the other side, who was pitched okay recently, also benefits from this park. But obviously this Mariners lineup starting to get a little scary, right? It's still a good place to pitch, but if you just look at like the quality of the individual bats in the lineup, Rosarena, Camporeale, Julio, Naylor, Suarez, Polanco's okay, Canzone hits right-handed pitching. There's not a lot of just dead bats in this lineup like there are with, say, the
deep lineup now. It's a deep lineup.
It is, which I think I was kind of on Martin to start the slate, and I still think he's an okay play, but I'm backing off a little bit, I think, just given the overall strength of the lineup. Where'd you end up between the White Sox and the Mariners here?
Yeah, it's just a deep pitching slate up top. I've got confidence in all these guys: Crochet, Wu, Peralta, Eovaldi, Imanaga. I agree that I think Wu's probably the safest just because of where he's pitching and the matchup here. Yeah, the White Sox have been hitting a bit of late, but it's not something that we, think is going to continue. 25% strikeout rate over the last month. You said he's a good bet for 6 innings. He's completed 6 in all 21 starts this season. Wow. He's been so consistent. He's been great at home too. 2.29 ERA, 0.86 WHIP. Just a clean spot for him to put up 20 plus here. I'm going to have a bunch of Brian Wu, a guy that we've liked since his first career start with the, was it like a 10K bonus or the most strikeouts on the slate or whatever that was?
Oh, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
A couple of years ago. So, I like Wu here. Martin has been okay. It's a lot of ground balls, so I don't really want to play these expensive Seattle bats in this spot. I'll probably wait for a day game later this series to play the Mariners here. So it's pretty much all Brian Wu here. The Mariners are not a team that I want to pick on as much as I did a month ago with the trades that they made.
We need this Mariners team to get to Sacramento or to the Angels pitching staff, and they're going to look really, really good with the additions to their lineup. I don't think they're the craziest play against Davis Martin. It's just hard to go to this park on this particular slate. But yeah. Could see that working out a decent amount of the time. Last game of the slate, we've got the Cardinals and the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. Looks like a pretty good day for hitting here. Home runs should be relatively easy to come by in Los Angeles tonight. Dodgers going with Emmett Sheehan, who has kind of been on the peripheral of their rotation for seems like a while. Talented arm. I'm worried about his duration a little bit not against the Cardinals, but just in general, kind of stretching him out. Matchup pretty good, though, against the Cardinals. I think Sheehan, another one of those kind of off the radar, I think plays at a cheaper price point that could work out. I personally like Soriano quite a bit better, so I don't think I'll get to Sheehan, but I do think he's an okay option. And then Miles Michaelis going against the Dodgers. I think this is a very dangerous spot for Michaelis. He kind of survives. He pitches in Busch Stadium, one of the best home run suppressing parks in baseball, faces some weaker offenses, kind of gets by on a lot of, medium struck fly balls that turn into outs. But against this Dodgers team, which is about as full strength as we've seen all season, they got Max Muncy back yesterday. Michaelis, I mentioned the trying to not give up the home runs. The other thing he does is he doesn't walk anybody, but that's not, the worst thing in the world for this Dodgers lineup, who obviously has a ton of power, really up and down the lineup. So I think the Dodgers, for me, are kind of the team most likely to match the output of the Blue Jays, even if the Blue Jays have a good game. They're expensive, but yeah, I think their upside is really high against Michaelis. They make for good one-offs too. Ohtani obviously got to be near the top of anyone's list, but I really like the rest of the lineup. I mean, outside of Mookie, who I never play, but Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, Teoscar, these guys all look good to me. What do you see here between the Cardinals and the Dodgers?
Mookie projects for 15% ownership for the 30th straight slate.
I would love to see my just like ownership, even like broken down by team. I guarantee you that's is my lowest owned Dodger of any of their main guys.
Him and Conforto are guys that I always pull down. I think that I said it earlier in chat. I think Muncy is the engine of this order. Like, he connects the lineup so well, and when he's going is really when the Dodgers are going. They really needed him back. It sucks that they lost Edman at the same time, but I think Muncy really is the key. Having him and Teoscar hitting at the same time just makes this lineup so deep. I think it'll come soon. Freeman has come around this past week or so. Good to see that. So I'm right there with you. Like, I'm not going to be scared to stack against Michaelis on a slate where we don't have that many great offensive spots. We talked about teams that can match Toronto. The Dodgers at home against Miles Michaelis has got to be on the top of that list, because they've been struggling. The prices are down on everyone but Ohtani. He's up at 6,900 because he's been pitching. But yeah, I really like the Dodgers here. I'm going to play some Sheehan. I'm a bit concerned about the duration, like you said, but he's got better props than Yu Darvish. I was actually surprised to see that they posted props, but so over 14 and a half outs is minus 185. So they're expecting 5 innings here, which is basically all I need in this matchup against the Cardinals, who have just been pathetic lately. 27th the weighted runs created plus, 26 in ISO, and even worse over the last 2 weeks, 29th and 28th. Sheehan's issues are when he loses the zone. He's got a walk rate over 10%, but I like his talent. He's pitched well when they've given him any sort of length. He's going to be in the rotation because of the Dustin May trade. And I think they kind of want to see what they have with them. So I kind of like him here on a slate where I don't really have much below Imanaga besides Soriano and Darvish. I'm gonna have Sheehan kind of tentatively in the pool. He's gonna be super low owned, so you don't have to play that much of him. I think he's more of a guy to add if you're playing 20-plus lineups than just a handful, though.
Yeah, I'm with you on Sheehan. I do think pretty good option. And yeah, those props are certainly encouraging for Sheehan's potential to go deep into the game. And yeah, I do think, I think he's, from the Dodgers perspective, probably in their rotation for the rest of the year. If he can perform, stay healthy, he probably does get stretched out here. So yeah, that does make sense with Emmett Sheehan. Probably a better option than he gave him credit for, especially at the lower ownership and with the price savings, which obviously goes a long way on the slate for those trying to get Blue Jays in, which hopefully is most of you guys, because they're going to probably put up 10 plus runs again. That's all 10 games, Steve. Let's go back over some of our favorite plays on this slate. We will start at pitching, where I think both of us are going to spread it around a little bit, but if you had to narrow it down, your favorite pitching combination on DraftKings today.
So it's going to be Darvish. I'm going to play him on my main. It's just the price tag in the matchup is too good. I'm not going to be scared off of one bad game against this Arizona lineup. And then it's going to be whoever fits in that top five with my Toronto five-man. So probably I'm going to barbell this thing, and it'll be either Crochet or Imanaga, depending on what bats fit with the Toronto five-man that I'm playing in the 121.
Yeah. Tough to narrow down. I'm on Darvish too. I'll feel really stupid if I don't play Darvish and he actually comes in at the projected 20% ownership. I'll have plenty of Darvish. I'm with you on the top guys. I'll throw Brian Wu in there as I think a very, very strong play. Feel safe. Other guys we're looking at Soriano, Sheehan, and then I do like Jose Barrios a little bit. So, yeah, I think there's, about eight pretty good options at pitching today. And I think you can build multiple ways if you really want to get in those stud Blue Jays. I don't have a problem with spending down a little bit at both starting pitcher spots. Let's go to stacks. We both love the Blue Jays, so we'll leave them off. Give us two additional stacks, Steve, that you're looking at tonight.
Yeah, at the start of the show, I talked about the Brewers. I think they're in an interesting spot just because of the price tags that we talked about. I think something unique is going to be not dipping down into the Darvish area and playing a Crochet Wu team. And you can pretty easily do that, DC, with a five-man Brewers with guys in the top of the lineup. You can play guys in the top five or six of this order with a double spend. I think that's going to be unique on this slate. So I'll go with the Brewers. I'll leave the Dodgers to you, and I'll just go with the Texas mini stack, the lefties, Smith, Seager, Peterson. I think is super interesting against Will Warren tonight. And especially if you're playing five Jays with Darvish, like you said, I think playing a lower-owned secondary stack is super interesting tonight.
I'm with you on the Rangers. They were going to be on my list as well. I'll go a little bit of a different direction. The Dodgers certainly are one of the teams that I think have the potential to completely break the slate, even, at least potentially more than the Blue Jays, or as much as them anyway. And then where else was I looking? You mentioned the Red Sox, I think, make a ton of sense against Ryan Bergert, who neither of us think is very good, so could go that direction as well. Finally, give us a home run call, Steve, before we get on out of here.
It's got to be the fat boy from last night who finally got on the board, 2,300, Jock Peterson. Gets Will Warren tonight, back-to-back games. Celebrate with some ice cream after the game for young Jock.
Love it. I'll be rooting for that as well. I'll go back to a guy I mentioned yesterday in his first game back from the IL. Max Muncy didn't get the job done, but back to him here. Still pretty cheap against Miles Mikolas. Love the matchup. Hitting cleanup today is Max Muncy. Hit one ball pretty hard yesterday. I think he'll be good to go. And I mentioned it yesterday on the show too, but ever since he got those goggles, right, the glasses that fix his vision, his numbers are absolutely insane from that point to when he got injured. So I am expecting Muncy to pick up where he left off, and I don't think he's going to be 4,100 for long if he can do what I think he can do. So Max Muncy, my home run call today. That'll do it for this show. I'll be back same time, same place with stats tomorrow. Congrats to Chunk the Deuce. Did you get the contest squared away,
I
Steve?
sent you an invite. It should be on your DK alerts. He is already in.
Perfect. We'll get that 3-man going. And if you beat both of us, we'll get you a ticket to the flagship tomorrow. For now, though, that'll do it. Until tomorrow, he's Steve Boyd and I'm Draft Cheat. We're out of here.